5, 4, 3, 2. All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jake. This is the Designing Games Around Music panel. With me, I have three indie game developers: Nate Largo, Ken Tang, and Joriel Alves, as well as industry musician and audio specialist Ian Smith. I thought we would start off by showing a short trailer for our developers' projects, and then giving them an opportunity to introduce themselves and speak about it. So first, we're going to jump into Crescendo from Nate Largo. Cool. So that was Crescendo. Nate, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and Crescendo?
Yeah, so I'm Nate. I'm an indie dev. I haven't been doing it for too long, but I'm having a lot of fun making Crescendo. It's a rhythm-based stealth game where you have to infiltrate a building with a sound-based security system. So you have to move with the beat to avoid detection. It's kind of like a puzzle game that rewards mastery of knowing a level's music. It's still in development, but it's going to have challenge modes, a bunch of secrets to find, and a level editor with a music editor built in. So you can make levels, make some music, and share with your friends.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Next up,
Thank you.
we have Noise by Ken Tang. So let's watch that.
If I can only reach you for your hand, if Memphis could be hard just to call your name, couldn't run away from all the darkness of my heart. Memories feel like another life. I can accept your souls once but by fate. Like the end the embers, can we fly beyond once more to Kabul?
Awesome. So that was Noise. So Ken, why don't you tell us about that and about yourself?
So hi, I'm Kate Eternal, producer of NOISZ, also assistant producer of Pump Infinity and level designer for Neon FM and Archaea. Nice to meet you. NOISZ is a rhythm bullet hell visual novel with unique fast-paced gameplay designed to pull you into the music and a heartfelt, hard-hitting story. Using the mysterious power of the noise, battle music monsters from another world as you meet cute anime girls, cute anime boys, and an incredibly hate-worthy villain.
That's great. Thank you. Cool. So for our last project, we'll watch the trailer for Super Ledgehop Double Lasers by Joriel Alves, also known as Air G Tables.
Hey! Hey you! Over here! Hey there, it's me, Tito! You ever heard of this cool game called Super Ledgehop Double Laser? The game where you can do all sorts of cool things, like this awesome ability where you can absorb enemy bullets. And then you can use the bullets you absorb as your own. In addition to that, you can shoot to the beat of the song. Your attacks will be much stronger.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do that.
What do you mean? Have you been listening to everything your super cool uncle taught you?
I thought I can just reflect bullets?
No, you cheesehead! There's a lot of things you can do with that shine. You can absorb, reflect, cancel your OP special move while maintaining your momentum.
So I can wave shine?
Yeah, just like wave shining. So prepare your wallets, because for the cost of $1 fast food burger, all of this intense action could be yours. Only here at Super Ledgehop Double Laser.
Awesome. All right, Cherry, why don't you tell us about Super Ledgehop Double Laser? Oh, Cherry, I'm not able to hear you.
No, I'm here. Oops. But yeah, now you see like the true essence of Super Ledgehop Double Laser. Super Ledgehop is a garbage, super scuff game, but it's super fun because you get to shoot bullets to the rhythm of the music. Because like, oh gosh, like, you know, if you ever play games, it's like, oh, this music is so cool, it's so good, and then you just like, I don't know, like shoot to the rhythm of like what the music is. Yeah, that's essentially it, and it's a mechanic in the game. But the most awesome thing is that you can absorb enemy bullets and use it as your own, and that's essentially what Super Ledgehop is. Oh, and you get to play as a girl who loves eating cheesesteaks because, you know, yummy. Big thank.
Awesome. Well, that was super hype. All right, our last panelist we have with us is Ian Smith. He's been working in the game industry as a musician and audio specialist. Ian, why don't you tell us about yourself and about your career, the kind of work you do?
Hi, I'm Ian Smith, a sound designer and composer. I've been in the game industry for coming up on 15 years or so. So I started off on The Wire, worked for Firaxis, Big Huge Games 1 and 2, Mohawk, Oxide, Sparky Pants, a number of other companies. Some of the larger games I've done are like the Elder Scrolls Legends, the card game, Civilization 5, Drop Zone, and Kingdoms of Amalur, which was just re-released. So that was an interesting year to see all that. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so those are our panelists. Thanks for introducing yourselves, guys, and your projects. I thought we would now jump into some Q&A, so let's start out light and easy. This is a question for anyone. Why don't you guys talk about some games that have had unique sound work or music that stand out to you?
There's a lot.
Who's starting on this
let's
one?
go around. So let's start with Ian.
Like something we've worked on, or?
Sure, something you've worked on or another project, a game you've played that kind of has given you inspiration in your own work.
I'd say the Legends was one of my cooler experiences for something I got to work on. There's lots of teams from all over the world that contributed to that audio, and you know, I was responsible for implementing all of that, and generally just learned a lot that year. So
cool. Nate?
Well, I'm gonna take one that is one of my favorites, the Bit Trip series in its whole, but also Bit Trip Runner, the original as well as the sequels. They're good too, but I think I kind of drew a lot of inspiration from that series for Crescendo, kind of without realizing. But even the main character looks like Commander Video. But I think that there's just a lot that the Bit Trip series does to take music and visuals and really mesh them. And there's a bunch of games that do that, and I honestly can't even think of them off the top of my head right now because I'm on the spot. But I'd say definitely the Bit Trip series in its entirety.
Awesome. Ken.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of Res, and it was massive inspiration for our game, like the way that you interact with music in Res, and the way that you just get kind of pulled into the music by the game's mechanics, by its atmosphere. Everything in that game feels like it's built around the soundtrack, and it's a really immersive experience. There's also several shmups like Ikaruga and Zero Ranger that have brilliant soundtracks that connect strongly to the gameplay, even though they don't explicitly have rhythm or music mechanics.
Sweet. And Chair.
Oh, the thing is, like, I don't really know how to properly answer this question because essentially, like, the reason why I like making games around music is when I speedrun games, you know, you're always running to the right in a lot of games or running forward. And every time I get the opportunity where like nothing is happening, I'm just pressing like the attack button to the beat of the music. So like, for example, I'm playing Mega Man 2 and like it's just a straight line with barely enemies. I'm like boop, 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 boop. Even though you can only shoot like 3 times, it's kind of like that. And the fact that my friends would always throw me into the car, we're gonna play on the arcade, and we just play rhythm games. And I went from a not rhythm game player into a casual that really likes these type of games, and then we're like, okay, yeah, let's make music type of games. And I essentially try to think about like, oh, this design's so good, and then I just put it in.
That's awesome. Actually, yeah, and that leads me into a really good question I had for you guys. How have you used audio or music to drive player behavior in your projects? Ian.
All right. Well, I guess there's a number of areas you can do that. Generally speaking, artists, complete the experience before I get a hold of it. And, music, sound design. I don't, it's a very general question to answer, I guess. Like, specifically, I don't know. Like, there's just...
So I guess the question would be like, do you ever settle on like audio cues or audio events or maybe like spatial audio to draw the player's attention to something, to let them know that something's happening?
Yeah, all the above. It really depends on the context of the game. Sometimes when you're working in a 3D space, that's your only cue. And then games like Legends, you're in a 3D space, but it's mostly feels like a 2D playing field. So there's lots of areas where just having like left and right positioning and sound, just good sound design that captures the player's attention. And most importantly, the sound should really tell the player what they need to know, even if they are not visually seeing the game. And that's something that I strive to do in my work.
Awesome. Nate, how about you?
Yeah, I want to talk about juice for a second, because in game dev, we always talk about juice. When things are visually juicy, they feel good, they look good. And I think music is almost a bigger part of the juice formula than visuals sometimes. It's a hard formula to kind of put into words or put on paper. And often I just kind of been throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks, what feels good. But music and sound design is so core for making a game feel good. I think that's kind of where I'm aiming when I personally try to make sound effects or make music. It's to make the game feel better, for lack of a better term.
Awesome. Ken or Chair, do you guys have anything to throw in?
I mean, I agree with Nate. Like, I'd say that sound and music are, I would say they're a bigger part of as he says, the juice of a game and its feeling than visuals are. Like if you play like Higurashi or something like that, and like everybody's got like giant ham hands, like the visuals in that game are kind of awful, but like a lot of the scenes have like just the right music and like the right writing, and like combined like it will make you cry. Like like a lot of VNs are like that. Like they don't rely on the graphics to give a scene emotional punch. And so we wanted to capture a lot of that feeling in our game as well.
Awesome. Joriel, anything to add?
Yeah, I definitely do. I do agree on those. Like think about this. Like think of games like Celeste. There's some parts where like this song is like playing, but then they kind of fade out, and then sometimes there's some sections like where they add in a different instrument to kind of match in with what the theme is. So I'm like, whoa, good game design, because it has like the same theme that you're familiar with, but it's trying to invoke a different feeling. If you're able to like create like songs that essentially is gets the players like, oh yeah, I associate these notes into this place, but you're able to convey different emotions with them, then I'd say you've created a really nice masterpiece of a music. And like just putting in like the sounds, if you choose like the right sounds, like they can be memorable. And like even if you think about it, like some sounds are just so memorable that you get to see them happening in like many game mods. Like for example, Super Robotnik Kart. I mean, no, not Super Robotnik Kart. Sonic, the racing game. I forgot the name. I'm so. But yeah, like there's so many honks in there, and then it's all a bunch of sounds that just sound great, and with how the songs, the sounds just sound great. Like it resonates with them, even with a simple like Marvel versus Capcom, the metallic sound versus the normal hit sound. Like there's a different feeling into it that really gets you immersed. And that's why you gotta pick the right sounds, because it makes the game feel more full. That's essentially what makes a game so great when it comes to audio.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that actually reminds me as well about how important audio can be to giving player hints about what is about to come next. Because everyone's had that experience, for example, when your character, you walk into kind of an empty room, and depending on the music that starts playing, you get the sense like, oh, it's rock music, there's a boss that's going to jump out at me. Oh, it's somber music, maybe I'm about to meet a new character or experience a cutscene. So a lot of the times it can be the first thing that gives the player the hint about what is next to come. I think that's pretty cool. Here's a question for everyone. Are there any aspects of audio design that you feel some games kind of ignore or get wrong that you'd like to see improved? Ken.
Oh, man. So games that get audio design wrong, huh?
Oh, we lost Ian.
Um,
That's all right. Go on.
Honestly, the closest thing I could think of that is to, like, what is it? Like when Cher was playing like what is it, Minor, and like he got like DMCA because of the MIDI version of a Green Day song in the final boss fight.
This is definitely a hard question. Because I mean, I don't know if you can ever say someone did something wrong when it comes to music design or sound design. Man.
Yep, that's
I think
fair.
I think the thing that you can kind of say the most is not putting thought into music. A lot of people, I think, look at graphics and they'll kind of think that that's the most important part of trying to convey information. But I think, like we've mentioned with the previous question, the sound design, the audio cues are really important. And if you don't have an audio cue for something, that is, in my opinion, sometimes bad sound design. Because if something just happens and there's no audio to go with it, there's a good chance you'll miss it as the player, especially if it's off screen. So I would say that's probably the most glaring thing that I can think of in terms of bad sound design, is just no sound design.
Yeah, you're right. I think one of the reasons it's so hard to think of bad sound design is, as Nate says, it's frequently an omission kind of thing, rather than like the sound design was explicitly bad, like that they did something actively wrong.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, I didn't actually thinking about it. I don't actually want you guys to go in and start hating on other people's projects. So I guess that was more of a like looking for tips or tricks that people could improve. While we wait for Ian to get back, why don't you guys talk about kind of what drove you or inspired you to start making games surrounding music as a core mechanic?
Wait, I wanted to say something about sound design.
Yeah.
Because like I do agree about it like so much, because okay, so like okay, for example, like years ago I regularly competed in like Smash Brothers tournaments, and I really think sound design is super important, because okay, so like there's a lot of local tournaments where people just bring their monitor, so you know there's no sounds, because like a lot of these monitors either run on their own speakers where you cannot hear it because you know the venue is super loud, or you know they're just monitors that don't really have sound. And I realize like how much better I play when it comes to audio, just because I can tell whether something is a strong hit or a weak hit. Like for example, when you do Peaches of Smash, the center, if your opponent is like way on the center or even on top on the top of you, because she, you know, she spins up and puts her hands in the air, if they touch that top part right there, you'll hear a much stronger sound. It goes like that one. But then if they hit you like just from like the side of your skirt, you hear like, and it's much weaker. So like it's kind of a bit easier for me to react out of sounds. It's like, okay, so that's a weaker hit, maybe I can follow it up by going to the right. But then if it's a stronger hit, I'm like, okay, this might kill. I have time to prepare for some projectiles and wait for them to come down. And I think that's why like you know, audio cues are so important, even when it comes to like blindfolded speedruns. Like there's like, for example, like some players cannot tell like when they're like hugging the wall, because some games do not have like a sound cue for like when they're pushing the wall or something. But like, you know, like even the sounds of footsteps are really helpful, like when you're playing Super Mario 64 or The Legend of Zelda. Like when blindfolded speedrunners like hit a wall, they'll know because there's no more sounds of like footsteps. And that's why like Eternal was like talking about like minor ultra adventures. I speedrun that game, and it's a really bad shovelware game. It's super buggy, and there's like it's really impossible to speedrun blindfold, because there's barely any sound cues, but there's this one moment I appreciate that they did put a sound. Final boss, you have to jump on trampolines to like fire like a cannonball, and you cannot tell if it hits because the camera is always in a bad angle, but you can know if it hits because there's a sound effect. And I'm like, thank you, so I could at least know what, because there's no boss health bar. You cannot know how many more hits until the boss hits. So yeah, having sound cues like anywhere is much more important than you think. It just makes the game feel better.
Cool. Yeah, that was a lot of great points. Thank you. So we've got about 7 minutes left. I think let's go around. I want everyone to take a couple minutes and tell us about your process. Like, how do you settle on audio themes, music themes, audio profiles for your projects? What kind of specialized hardware or software do you use? How does it impact your work? That kind of thing. Nate.
Yeah, well, first of all, I use FL Studio, recommend it, but any DAW would work, and you can use other things that are way less overly complicated because honestly, I only scratch the surface of FL Studio. But when I am first starting kind of drafting a theme, I'll work with the graphics that I kind of have tentatively and think about instruments. I always start with instruments because that's kind of like the building, like a palette is the building block of an image. The instruments are the building block of music. So much like I'd pick a palette, I try to pick a instrument set, whether it's like supposed to be eerie or happy. From there, I'll think about chords, which also kind of follows that eerie, happy dichotomy. And then there's also there's a bunch of different like tricks that you can use. Arpeggios are like my go-to because arpeggios make everything sound good. But it's a lot of trial and error for me. I know it's not for a lot of other people that are way better at music theory. But I work with different types of chord progressions and really just listen to see what sounds good. And then I'll try to, kind of like we've talked about motifs in a couple other panels, I try to make those motifs and then I manipulate them, stick to them, depending on the kind of theme of where you are in that game at that point.
Cool. Ian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say mostly what Nate said is generally how I approach things. First, I'm always looking at the emotional context, right? Like what emotion are we trying to portray? What's happening at the game during this time? And also art and art style affect, the sound design of the music. But generally, start with motive, theme, and chord progressions. And then from there, you can really break out into anything as far as instruments, synthesizers, and then, yeah, just you get there eventually. There's, sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, you just gotta be able to keep moving forward and come up with a good sounding product at the end of the day.
Sweet. Ken.
Okay, so I'm not really a composer, so we license or commission all our music, and so our approach to doing that has varied a lot over time, kind of depending on our circumstances and on the project. Like when we first started on NOISZ, we were super ultra poor, so we kind of just went for whatever we could afford and also sounded good, and then built stages and characters around them. Like the design of our game is music first, and we kind of go where it takes us. Recently, like now that we're in a better position, I think a lot about plot points or like the characters that this like particular part is centered around, stuff like that. And I go and look for either like a piece that's already made that like matches the right mood that we have in mind, or if I'm commissioning, then like usually I will talk to the composer about like what the character is like. This is other music that's associated with them, and we go from there.
Awesome.
All right, guys, listen. I'm the same as Ken, and listen, I'm not a composer too. I just make the game, so it's but like I feel like since we're making the games, we also have the responsibility of knowing what type of songs that we want to put in there. And one of the and this is where when I was younger, everyone made fun of me for listening to video game music in my classrooms. But this paid off in the end, because with the amount of music that I listened to, I'm like, oh, I know that's an example for every single song that I want to put in the game. So when I talk to my composers, I'm like, okay, all right. Here's the songs that I think has the same instruments, the same type of tempo, the same type of feel, and and then I give them a few songs that are similar to that, and then I grab songs that kind of sounds like how I described it, but it's not the same way that it feels like. And then I said, okay, this is not really what the song should be, and that gives them like a better understanding on how the songs are going to be. And when they're like, all right, here's the work in progress song, and I'm like, okay, cool. So what I do to know that we're going in the right direction is I get that music, I grab gameplay of like a similar game or like a similar cutscene, and then I slap the music in there, and I'm like, yeah, this fits. This totally fits. Or if it's like a battle,
Awesome.
I will know.
Oh, sorry. Yep, we're almost at the end of our time. Sorry to cut you off. We're about only has a couple seconds left. So thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for speaking. Super Ledgehop and NOISZ, you can find them on Steam. Crescendo coming to Steam, but you can find it right now on itch.io. If you want to contact these guys, their Twitter handles are on screen right now. And I'm going to take the last couple seconds to pitch Indie Maker Syndicate. We're doing a Maker's Play stream. Indie gaming, DIY shenanigans. That'll be March 26th to 28th. Check us out at indiemakersyndicate.com, where you can find links to our Twitch and our Twitter. Thank you, everyone, and we will be signing off.
Having us.